Hello my lovelies and welcome to my little cottage by the sea, the place where I love to stitch and craft my way to a vintage inspired and sustainable lifestyle. You may have watched my recent Style Icons video about Hedy Lamarr, one of my all-time favourite muses, and in that video I mention a traditional Austrian dirndl, and I've wanted to make one for ages. I bought the pattern from Folkwear, and like many people around the world, I have been loving the new series of And Just Like That. I know some people have their issues with it, but I'm really loving it. And I was absolutely thrilled to see Sarah Jessica Parker wearing a Lena Hoschek dirndl. In this two-part video, I'm going to be recreating SJP's iconic green dirndl dress. In this first part, I'm going to be taking you along with my planning process. On the whole, if I'm going to be doing a slightly bigger project, this is how I go about planning, and it's just all those little steps: the pattern, fabric. I've got to toile the bodice because this pattern is an unknown quantity to me. I could have used my own bodice blocks and drafted something similar, but sometimes it is nice to use a pattern, and I've long wanted to try out Folkwear patterns. I've never ever tried them before, so I'm excited to do that. I'm going to be toiling the bodice, making the amendments, talking through fabric, and then in the second part, which will be coming up in the next week or so, 2 weeks, I'll be actually making the dress. So I am so excited to get going. So let's get going. Here is the pattern, and I bought this one from Minerva because I just wanted the pattern. You can get the PDF from the Fold line. I'm sure you can get this in all sorts of other places. So it comes like this in a handy package. It's a tissue pattern. I haven't opened this, I haven't looked at it at all, and you've got the sort of paper pattern there. Look how pretty these are. So this is pattern 123, the Austrian dirndl, and you get two different dress variations with this. One that's higher up and one that's more under bust. You get an apron, and then you get two different traction style blouses, and there's quite a lot of information on the back. So I thought we could have a little look. Sorry, Ghost is decided to get involved in something over in the corner. So let's have a little look. It would help if I had my eyeballs to put on because I can't read this without them. Okay, eyeballs. Eyeballs are required. So it says here, the dirndl dates back to the Renaissance and is one of the few regional costumes still worn extensively in Austria, southern Germany and Switzerland. The complete dirndl consists of a close-fitting sleeveless bodice with attached full skirt over an abbreviated white blouse, so like cropped, finished with a contrasting apron. Easy to make decorative ruching may be used to enhance the lines of the bodice. So it's got these two different bodices, and like this Lena Hoschek dress, this is called the Giuseppina, which I hope I've pronounced properly. It's made in a linen cotton. The bodice, instead of either buttoning or little hook and eye closures in the Lena Hoschek dress, has actually got eyelets. So it's got a more corseted look. The Lena Hoschek Giuseppina dress, SJP's dress, looks like version B with the sort of the gussets, boob gussets. I'm doing this, I don't know if that's helpful. This version here, we can see, actually sits under the boobs now. As much as I'm all for the va-va-voom, I'm not entirely sure that would be appropriate. For my day-to-day life here in Hastings, one wouldn't want to acquire a naughty reputation, would one? So I've obviously got to do that toiling bit that is so important. Before I get on with the pattern cutting bit, I thought it'd be quite useful just to show you what I'm thinking about fabrics. And I'm absolutely thrilled because I have found a linen viscose. It's ever so close to the colour green that Sarah Jessica Parker wears in And Just Like That. And I really do like this colour. I don't, you know, always good to make sure that you like the fabric against the colour of your skin. I'm not going to be making the blouse or the apron, it's just the dress. And I actually am going to make them as is as well, but I just want to make this one. I want to recreate Sarah Jessica Parker's iconic green dirndl dress, Lena Hoschek's Giuseppina dress, as near to as possible. So gonna go with this fabric, and I got this from Cloth Control. I think it was about £12 a metre. And it says here that for dress A, so gonna do a higher bust, I'm gonna have to sort of merge the bodices together, sort of, somehow. We'll get there. And it says that you need 2 or 3 meters for the dresses. So 2 meters for view B, or 3 meters for view A, depending on the size. So I have this linen, and then the bodice, as you can see, is lined in a very pretty floral, ditzy floral of some kind. Now, I have lots and lots of scraps in here of my beloved honeymoon fabric, and it's what this dress is made of. This is a different colourway. Actually, this is my favourite colourway. In And Just Like That, Carrie Bradshaw wears the dress. It has detachable straps, and she wears them inside out, showing the floral, and I thought that that would actually be really, really lovely. Now, I don't know if I've got enough to line the whole of the bodice, and to be honest, I'm not sure I want to use my precious scraps to line a bodice, but I do have lots of this vintage green cotton that's got this sort of woven, it's like a sort of jacquardy weave in it. You may remember if you've been here a long time, and if you have, thank you so much. It is so lovely to share this adventure with you. I made a pattern with this dress. It was a repro pattern. I'll pop the doodles up there and any links in the doodles down there so you can find your way to things. But I thought that I could line the bodice in this and then use this on the sort of inside of the straps, and if I wanted to wear the straps the other way around, I could. And I've also got to make lacing, and I don't know if I want to use ribbon. I might create lacing with this, not entirely sure. We'll make a few decisions as we go. And I just thought that all together would be really, really beautiful. The dirndl comes up in extra small to 3XL, and that goes from 30-ish inches all the way up to 52 to 54. You find you get sort of quite big size boundaries with patterns, like 3 to 4 centimeters really within each size banding. So I'm sort of really this extra large. Suppose it depends on whether there are actually, you know, finished measurements in here, but I would sort of go with one of these. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to open out the pattern and actually measure and have a little look, because there is sort of somewhere in between here that I might fall, but we shall see by looking at the actual paper pattern and seeing if they've got actual finished garment measurements in there. You want this to be fitted, and I am going to be boning some of the seams as well. Apologies, we should be accompanied by The Hills Are Alive, Maria, but instead we've got some kind of drilling in the background, which I hope isn't going to be detrimental to your enjoyment. What I'm really liking about this pattern, and why I really wanted to get one in paper form, is you get these very lovely instructions. Now, could be issues, I'm hoping not, but there's lots of information. You've got these lovely technical drawings, you've got all your pattern pieces, got some notes, the different seam finishes, you've got your cutting guide, you have a please read this before using your folkwear pattern, so I will give that a read. You've got very detailed cutting guides here, and I'm assuming that the oh, cut 3 on fold, cut 1 on fold. Okay, so they're, instead of doing just sort of saying cut a rectangle out like so, it's giving you the actual rectangles to use on the fabric. And then you've got your sewing guide continued. I do like the logo for folkwear. It sort of makes me feel a bit folkwear, Liberty, William Morris, all the good stuff. And it really, really goes through with a lot of detail. And the other thing I'm really loving here is that you've got machine shirring with zigzag, so original shirring, these like little details, decorative details. I've got a whole board on Pinterest land called Life's a Dirndl, which I will endeavour to remember to list below, and it's just loads of stuff about dirndls, the history of dirndls, just loads of visual inspiration and ideas. These are two-sided, so there's really beautifully drawn instructions, and I'm hoping that they're all going to make sense. So my idea is I want to do this version but with detachable straps and make it higher. But I do really like this this V shape on the back of this one. I'm going to be making one as is as well. And then there's just a whole little bit all about vintage detailing and just all these ideas. I mean, it's making my mouth water. I am wanting to go dirndl mad, to make my Life's a Dirndl actually happen. And look, there's a whole thing about custom fitting. Oh, I love passementerie, box pleat passementerie. I've been doing that actually to go on a blouse. I'll try and share that at some point. So I have copied out the pattern. I've got the back and I've done both of the fronts in the extra large, and I've also got the gusset bit and the placket, and I've cut out one of the backs in calico. And I think what my plan was going to be was to sew up one of the versions with a big like stitch, basting stitch, try it on, fit it, see, and then undo it and put the other front on. So I was saving a tiny bit of calico, but actually what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to just sew both of them and keep them as fitting toiles. And then what that means is I'm not going to be doing any decoration or planning anything like that on this, because I'm just recreating Sarah Jessica Parker's green version from And Just Like That. But in the future I may want to, because there's that whole booklet about different things you can do, and I think it would be quite a good idea to have these, and then I can sort of pin things on or doodle little embroidery ideas. A lot of dirndls use trapunto, a form of quilting. So I'd really like to have them to be able to use. Obviously, that's if they fit particularly well. So I'm going to get everything cut out and sew them up on Bertha. Here is the first bodice, style A, and it fits well on the back. It's a little bit tight because this is meant to overlap, which it does by the right amount on my overbust, but always got an issue here because one is boobylicious. It's the right length actually. I don't feel I could possibly add in lengthen by about a centimetre-ish. It's actually sitting on my waist, so I need to add on the seam allowance again. So 1.3 mil in this pattern, but this has got quite a big facing here. I'm going to be sewing these both tops, bagging them out basically, so I don't necessarily need quite so much of this. And also this skirt that goes onto this, it sort of undoes down the front to about here and you step into it. I think I'm just going to use the width of the fabric and just do a gather because I want to add pockets. At the moment it's, you know, not really sort of working 100% out of the packet. There is work to do, but when I do pull this so that it fits here, so playing around here, the darts are sitting in the right place. And then when this is all you know, sewn nicely, lengthened slightly, so a little bit of work to do there. And I'm assuming on the other bodice, the one that's got the little booby gusset here, which I think is the one I'm going to be using to do the dress, I'm assuming I'm going to need to lengthen that just ever so slightly. It's a tiny amount, but tiny amounts make a huge difference. Excuse the disembodied analysis of this toile, but there you go. So got to play around with the front of this one and lengthen it slightly. Here's the second bodice, and the one that I'm going to use to adapt. Haven't sewn in the gussets terribly well. They are quite tricky. I feel the instructions could just be ever so slightly more detailed for sewing in a gusset, so I just did it in the way that I thought, because what you don't want is tucks at the bottom. Apologies for feeling myself up. I need to add in room on this dart. It was sort of really gaping and I need to lengthen it by 1 centimetre. And it's an edge to edge thing. It does have a bit of a facing on this one as well, but I'm going to be bagging this out and then doing the eyelets here. So I've got to adapt the pattern and just sort of take it round like that. But I'm really pleased with this. I really like this shape, and actually it's come up higher than I thought, but something to look for is to make sure that the side seams are actually sitting on your side. But I'm going to be putting a zip in this, probably in the centre back for my Sarah Jessica Parker recreation. But overall I'm really pleased, and not a huge amount other than this, not a massive amount to tweak. So I'm almost here with this. Still got a little bit of fitting to do, but I have adapted the pattern, just done the one side with this strap malarkey. I think I need to bring it over a little bit more. This, I've altered all the pattern for this, so created the pattern and altered it. That needs a little bit more fitting there, but essentially that is what it's gonna look like. So the next time you see this, it will actually be looking a lot more like Sarah Jessica Parker's dress. I've got some decisions to make about boning and the structure, etc., but I think I'm almost there. Thank you for watching part 1. I hope you've enjoyed it. I'm having a fabulous time making a recreation of Sarah Jessica Parker's iconic green dirndl dress. It's a bit of a mouthful, and I can't wait to make the actual dress. So that's all coming up in part 2. I hope you will check back in with me in my little cottage by the sea for that video in the next couple of weeks. Until then, my lovelies, take very good care of yourselves, and I shall see you very soon. Bye.